Welcome to the award-winning RotoWire Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by RotoWire's free trial at rotowire.com/try. It's Friday, March 28th, 2024. Alex Barutha here with Shannon McEwen and Ken K-Train Kreitz.
All aboard. It's actually Thursday, recording early.
Oh, yes, it is Thursday. We're recording a day early. Tomorrow is a holiday. And I think we'll probably do one more Friday episode this year, next week. But today's episode will only be Waiver Wire. We're not going to touch news. We're going straight into Waiver Wire. I also conveniently took the under on this podcast length before the show. Let's just jump in. I am suggesting Max Strus, who just returned from a 3-week absence. He's 38% rostered only. He was dropped in a ton of leagues. Understandable, but make sure he's not available, especially if you're in a 14-team league. He, in his first game back, 19 points. He hit 5 threes, 4 rebounds, 2 steals in 24 minutes. Again, make sure someone can drop him. He's ranked about 120th across the entire season. There's a lot of up and down with Strus's game, partially due to the injuries Cleveland has suffered throughout the year. But again, someone who should be, I think, higher than 38% roster, especially with Cleveland having 4 games next week.
Yeah, almost everybody's got 4 games. Everyone but Washington, Denver, San Antonio, and Utah with only 3. Everyone else has 4. So you don't get stuck with those 4 teams. But Strus is interesting. Certainly if you need threes, right, Alex?
If you need threes, yeah, he hits about 2 a game. He's not as good of a 3-point shooter as I think people think he is. But he also gets more assists and more rebounds than people sort of assume from him. So he's a pretty well-rounded player, can step into more minutes when, like, a variety of players on Cleveland get hurt. So it's a good option there.
I'm also going to suggest some 3-point shooters as my first recommendation. We're going to Boston for Sam Hauser and Payton Fast PP Pritchard.
Homer.
Hauser is 23% roster on Yahoo. Pritchard's 42%. Boston also has 4 games next week. Look, the Celtics have already locked in first in the East. That's already clinched with roughly 10 to 11 games left. They're 6.5 games ahead of all the Western teams to make sure they get home court advantage in the finals, should they make it to the finals. And Jrue Holiday has a legitimate shoulder issue, unlike a lot of the other Celtics who they're just resting. But there's going to be a ton of minutes for reserves, Hauser and Pritchard, and a lot of starts as the Celtics really give everyone a rotating break, if you will, heading into the playoffs. Pritchard, a little more assist than Hauser. Hauser, though, decent steals and blocks for a small forward. They're both going to score. They're both going to hit a lot of threes. So Sam Hauser and or Payton Pritchard are my first suggestion from the Celtics.
I like it, Ken. My first suggestion, I'm going to go to the other side of the country, pick a Celtics rival, Rui Hachimura, the forward for the Los Angeles Lakers. He's been a top 50 player over the past week. He is 40% rostered on Yahoo. I know I've talked about him at least a couple times in this segment over the past month or two. He's locked in as one of the starting forwards for the Lakers. And he's really picked up his production as of late. Over the past 4 games, Rui is averaging 17.8 points, 9 rebounds, 2.3 3-pointers in over 32 minutes per contest. If you need help in those categories, he will give it to you. You know, similar to Max Strus, I feel like Rui should be rostered in more than 40%, given how long he's been in the starting lineup and his production the last couple weeks. So go snatch him up if you're in a 12 or 14 team league and he's available.
Yeah, his production can be a little bit up and down, but like Shannon said, he has been really efficient lately. Double digit scoring in 9 of the past 10 games, 60% from the field, 48% from 3. And like Ken alluded to with the Celtics, look, the Lakers don't have the same sort of leeway to rest guys, but at some point, there's a potential that they just lock up a seed, right? And then Hachimura is a guy that can get more minutes in those situations. That's something to always keep in mind at this time of year. as the playoffs draw closer.
My next suggestion: Lakers are 2.5 back from avoiding the play-in, but they've also got two. They're in 9th with the Suns and Kings ahead of them. At some point, it's pretty clear they're going to be destined for the play-in. And you're right, rest some folks.
And we saw it this week. I mean, they've already rested. I believe LeBron and Anthony Davis on back-to-back nights, one each night, rested on Tuesday and Wednesday.
Yeah, there's still a lot of jockeying especially from the 4 to 9 in the West. I mean, the Lakers are, look, I mean, there's not a lot of the season left, but they're 5.5 back from the 4 seed. The Clippers, Pelicans, Mavericks, these teams are really bunched up. So keep an eye on the standings because that's going to dictate a lot going forward. My second suggestion, Jonathan Isaac of the Orlando Magic, someone who has certainly been suggested on the show before as well, 15% rostered. He had a season high, 25 points, March 23rd against the Kings. His past 9 games, 11 points, 5 rebounds, 2.2 stocks per game. He's played at least 20 minutes in 4 of the past 6 games. Look, we know the story with Isaac. Anything other than more than 15 points for him is probably considered an outburst, but he can get you 2 to 6 stocks in any given game, and it should not surprise you. And I think Orlando, and I think Orlando would like to ramp him up a little bit more as they head into the postseason because he is someone that can, I think, really, I don't want to say swing a series for them, but depending on the matchup, like you send Isaac out there for 20 minutes to guard the opposing team's best wing, that could change a game for you. So I think they want to make sure he's ready for that.
We could see a healthy Isaac. That's always the issue. A healthy Isaac could frustrate a Jason Tatum or somebody like that in a playoff series for sure. The question is just minutes. How many minutes do they trust those knees before they implode?
That is a great question. Go to your next suggestion, Ken.
We're going to New York for Miles McBride. He started the last 5 games as the Knicks go small with OG Anunoby out. He's had 3 26 or more point games in 5 of those starts. In fact, his last 5 games, he's averaged 21.6 points, almost 4 assists, over 4.5 made threes, while shooting 55% from the field, 91% from the free throw line, and less than half a turnover a game. So his last 14 days, he ranks 61st in 9 category leagues for per game output. Julius Randle, we're just hearing crickets news-wise, unless, Alex, you have any info on Randle coming back. And,
no.
And OG Anunoby, that elbow, I can't imagine they're going to play him in back-to-backs before the playoffs, let alone we're not really sure. We know he's out. Isn't he? Anunoby's scheduled out for the next Knicks game. He didn't play last night. I don't know what his status.
We don't quite know yet, day to day.
But we don't know when Anunoby's coming back, and they're sure not going to push him after rushing him back too early once already. So I love a lot of minutes. If you need some efficient shooting and points, I love a lot of minutes for McBride, who is only rostered in 35% of Yahoo leagues.
Yeah, I would argue Miles McBride, for as long as Anunoby's out, should be the top free agent pickup. Someone who's not the top free agent pickup, but a player I like moving forward, Toumani Camara, forward for the Portland Trailblazers, 6% rostered. He has been a top 75 player over the past week, 9 consecutive starts, many of those filling in for Jeremy Grant, who, like Anunoby, we're not really sure when Jeremy Grant's going to return. Over the past 4 games, Camara has averaged 14 points, 5.8 rebounds, and 1.8 3-pointers in 34 minutes per game. Again, I mean, Portland has been running out a lot of their reserves. You have Grant's missed time, Simon's missed time, plenty of other players, Ayton's missed time. So Camara will probably be in the starting lineup moving forward. He could jump between the 3 and the 4, which he has done in recent games. As long as he's starting, though, I think he's worth a stream option in a weekly league, daily league, whatever the format may be.
I mean, Grant's missed 9 games in a row, 11 of the last 12. Kind of think they're shutting him down.
Yeah, Camara. Look, Camara he's kind of like a money ball 3-and-D player. Takes a lot of his shots at the rim, takes a lot of his shots from the corners. And I think a better defender than his numbers would say. You look at his numbers since the All-Star break, it's 0.8 steals and half a block. But there are a lot of games, 2 steals, 2 blocks, 3 steals, 2 blocks here and there. So he can have some boom games once in a while, especially if he gets hot from 3.
Alex, who's your long shot?
Long shot is Keon Ellis, although I should mention that Jonathan Isaac also qualifies as a long shot. But yeah, Keon Ellis of the Sacramento Kings, 20% rostered. Kevin Huerter out for the remainder of the season. Keon Ellis has stepped in. I watched a couple Kings games. He's awesome, man. Amazing defender. They trust him in the backcourt next to De'Aaron Fox. Kind of stole Davion Mitchell's role to an extent, especially earlier in the season. Mitchell's able to play now because Huerter's out. And Trey Lyles has missed time as well. But Keon Ellis has started 7 of the past 9 games. Low usage player, 8 points a game on 55% shooting, but 44% from 3. Good from deep. 3 rebounds, about 2 dimes. But it's all about the defense. 1.8 steals, 1.1 blocks across the past 9 games. He had a 5-block game against the Memphis Grizzlies the other night. Although, everybody kind of does that. They're one of the most blocked teams in the NBA. But yeah, he's someone who, if you need defense, like if you're thinking about like the Matisse Thybulle type, even the Jonathan Isaac type, Keon Ellis is another guy who fits that mold.
Well, I don't think Ellis. So the Kings are in 8th, but only a game and a half out of getting out of the play-in. I don't think Keon Ellis is a guy, unlike some others we've mentioned, that needs people to sit to see big minutes. He's going to play, frankly, regardless of the Kings situation. Don't you think, Alex?
Yeah, I think so, because he's going to be a part of their playoff rotation. He's going to play big minutes for them. That Huerter's out, and then also if Fox sits out or something else, that's more minutes for Keon. So it's kind of a best of both worlds. Now, I don't think his usage is that scalable. Like I don't think he's going to take a ton of more shots or be asked to handle it a little bit more. That'd be more of like a Malik Monk thing. But yes, more minutes could be on the horizon for him.
Yeah, we discussed Keon Ellis a little bit last week as well. And really what the Kings seem to be doing, I believe Keon Ellis, even if Huerter were healthy, I think Keon Ellis might have had the opportunity to hold on to the starting gig. He really gives them a defensive presence that they need within the starting lineup. And essentially his minutes are going to fluctuate, between low to mid 20s to low to mid 30s, depending on the need for that game. If they need more of a defensive presence, he's going to get those minutes. If they need more offensive firepower, Monk's going to come in and play extra minutes that game.
Well, my long shot this week is the opposite. He's a guy that has a lot of upside only if the starters get benched, and that's Luke Kornet of the Boston Celtics. Again, we mentioned Boston's clinched the East. They're 6.5 games up on all the teams in the West. Boston's going to be benching their stars a lot over these next 10, 11 games, especially the fragile Kristaps Porzingis and the ancient Al Horford, which means a lot of minutes for Luke Kornet. Even Xavier Tillman's got a knee issue. So, again, I think a lot of minutes for Kornet during the silly season of meaningless games for the Celtics. I really like Kornet if you're in a daily transaction league and you see the note like, oh, Porzingis and Horford are both out. Let's play Kornet tonight. In the 5 starts Luke Kornet's had this season, he averages a double-double, granted 10 points, 10 rebounds, but almost 2.5 blocks while shooting 69% from the field, 100% from the charity stripe, and he still gets you almost 3.5 assists. So especially if you're in a daily league, I like Luke Kornet as a silly season plug-and-play option. He's going to have nights with big minutes.
Yeah, and an absolute DFS stud in those 5 starts, averaging 35 fantasy points per. My long shot is a longtime favorite of the pod, a guy who we unfortunately have not been able to bring up yet this season. Brandon Clarke, forward center for the Memphis Grizzlies, 3% rostered. Clarke made his season debut on Wednesday against the Lakers. It was great to see. He played 21 minutes. I was surprised that he was able to top 21 minutes in his season debut. He finished with 6 points, 5 boards, and 1 steal. My attraction to Brandon Clarke has always been his defensive upside. I believe he's a guy who can go out there and get, a couple blocks, a steal, really contribute on that end. Decent rebounder as well. It's just a matter of minutes. And Memphis, we've seen with Memphis this year, their rotation, they probably have had the most 5-man starting lineups, unique lineups in the history of the NBA this year. It's been absolutely bonkers. My guess is they'll take it slow with Brandon Clarke. They don't want to they don't want to just throw him to the fire after missing the vast majority of the season. But his minutes should pick up down the stretch, and he's worth a stream if you're in a deep enough league where you're looking for some defensive stats.
Clarke was out for over a year. You'd think they'd want to boost his confidence a little with some strong, meaningless games where, he cleans the glass and gets some gimme points.
I still believe Rui and Brandon Clarke, former teammates at Gonzaga.
Right.
There you go.
Nice.
It's all tied together here.
Well, is that it, gentlemen? Do we go to the close already?
We can. I was about to throw in a fun fact. The Grizzlies have started 21 players this season. 21 different players for the Memphis Grizzlies have drawn a start.
Wild.
Wow. We don't
kind of ridiculous.
They must. Can you tell where that ranks? It must lead the league this year.
Oh, I don't have that up, but I would imagine that
probably
ranks.
Probably like 14 of them at least are no longer on the Grizzlies roster.
Yeah.
We can wrap it up. Ken, do you have a quote for us, or we just hard out?
No, we're going
Irish
right.
exit.
Irish exit. Attention, passengers. This 3-car fantasy train wreck has hit the end of the line. Good luck in your fantasy playoffs.